a really important conversation. Cyberbullying among young Americans has skyrocketed in the last few decades. In fact, 1 in 4 middle and high school students say they've been bullied online in the past 30 days.
Yeah, just wrap your head around those numbers because it has become a devastating issue, especially for Black kids and teens. A new study in the Journal of American Medical Association found that Black students who experience racial discrimination may develop post-traumatic stress disorder, which researchers say can be often linked to suicidal thoughts. Clinical psychologist Dr. Tasha Brown joins us now on set. Dr. Brown, thank you for joining us. A really important topic that affects students, but it affects, all of our students, right, to some degree. First off, what is online racism?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So online racism is when individuals experience some form of racism on an online platform, whether it be through text messaging, whether it be through emoji symbols, whether it be through content that they're viewing. It's some sort of racial aggression that occurs in an online space.
This study mentioned symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. For a kid, what does that look like? How does that show up? And is it different from the racial trauma that maybe their parents have experienced in a different way that they might not be able to relate to their young person?
Yeah, when we think about racial trauma today, we really have to take into consideration the cyber part of it. We know that cyberbullying is a big problem for all children and adolescents right now. But when we think about what online cyberbullying looks like and these PTSD symptoms, we're really looking at increased anxiety, depression, hypervigilance, repeated memory of the event or the occurrence that occurred online. And these things can really impact a child or adolescent in their everyday functioning. So impact their grades, impact their functioning with their classmates. And so it's something that we have to really pay attention to.
Dr. Brown, for people who may be hearing this for the first time, I want to situate them in a few statistics here. The FBI had some numbers out. They released a report showing hate crimes, and in a 5-year span, it found that African Americans were the most common demographic to be victimized. If you look there on your screen, how does that contribute to the suicide rate among Black youth?
Yeah, there's so much research coming out about this in the last couple of weeks, actually. We know that when children and adolescents, specifically Black children and adolescents, experience racial aggression online, it can lead to some of these symptoms of PTSD that we were just talking about. And we know that there's an association between PTSD symptoms and suicidal ideation, so thoughts about hurting oneself, preoccupations with death or dying. And so it's important that when children are experiencing these things online, that the providers around them, their teachers, their caregivers, be aware of changes in their behavior or their mood, because we know that there is this association between what they're experiencing and suicide rates.
Yeah, can we stay on that? If you are a caregiver, a parent, and you are concerned about this, what are some concrete steps you can take to make sure you are trying to protect and support your child?
Yeah, I love that question. It's so important. Number one, I always talk with parents about building a sense of racial pride and identity in their child, because that goes a long way in their self-esteem. You also want to talk about racism and what that looks like, what that means. And that's not just a conversation for Black youth. That's a conversation for all children. We also want to think about having children know that they can reach out to someone and talk to someone if they feel like they are being aggressed in any way, shape, or form.
I want to pick up there because I think sometimes when we talk about any particular community, people can sometimes tune out and be like, well, that's not my community, so it's not my problem. It's all of our problems. So how can parents who aren't Black be raising their kids and having conversations with their kids so that they're not participating in that type of behavior? And oh, by the way, when our kids say this happening, they believe us.
Yeah, I love that question. That is so important. I think that starts from the time your child is born. You want to think about exposure to a wide variety of people. So expose them to different books, different experiences. You want to talk with them and give some concrete names to things. So if they see something happening, that is not okay. And what do we do when we see things that are not okay?
How to be an ally.
Yeah.
How to be an ally.
Yeah.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Tasha Brown, thank you so much. What an important conversation. You gave us a lot to think about. If you or someone you know is struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts, call or text 988.